Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am super excited. Today's episode, hashtag Rise and Grind, is going to be amazing, incredible. I mean, like unstoppable is going to be the word of the day. You are going to leave today's episode. That's going to be your word, unstoppable. That's all you're going to think about. That's how you're going to feel. It's going to be incredible. We're going to bring on Unstoppable Tracy here in just a second. So let's dive into this sucker right away.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you, my friend? How are you, my friend? See, there's no excuse for you not pushing yourself to the next level. In order for you to create a new you must have a new mindset. When teams come together, we can create things that are greater than the sum of all of their parts.
Good morning and welcome to hashtag Rise and Grind. I am your host, Glenn Lundy. I am a husband to one, a father to seven, and the creator of what is going to be the #1 most watched morning show in the world. It is 5:30 a.m. and I hope that you are ready to rise and grind.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you, my friend? How are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm so talk about fabulous energy match. Look,
you guys can't
colors.
You guys can't even see her yet, but Unstoppable Tracy's in the green room, like dancing right now. She's so ready to jump in here. Hey, today is Friday. That's right. Today is Friday, August 14th, 2020. And what's crazy is today is the very first and the very last time it will ever be Friday, August 14th, 2020. So I want to make sure we make the absolute most of this absolutely incredible day. Hey, I can already tell by the way the algorithms work on FB sometimes that notifications are not going out for today's episode of hashtag Rise and Grind. So do me a favor, if you usually watch the show, there's somebody you know, there's somebody you see, tag them because they're trying to find us right now and they're having a hard time. So I need your help getting everybody up in here so they can meet Unstoppable Tracy. So today on hashtag Rise and Grind, we have Quadruple Amputee, athlete, speaker, Hall of Famer, Unstoppable Tracy joining us. Super excited. Before we bring her in here in just a second, I do want to say again, happy birthday to our man, Bill Schomburg. Bill Schomburg's birthday was yesterday, and you guys all posted in the group. Bill Schomburg is one of our amazing hashtag Rise and Grind members that he travels all around the country visiting all of the other members of the group. He's been in Kentucky a couple times with me. You see him everywhere, and just what an amazing human. And so I personally wanted to just take a second and say happy birthday, Bill. You're an incredible part of our group. We are so thankful, so thankful to have you in our family, our Rise and Grind family, and you just absolutely mean the world to us. So with that said, we're going to get to today's show. Mrs. Unstoppable Tracy is going to join us right here in the theater, first thing in the morning. Unstoppable Tracy, how you doing, girl?
I'm so excited. I was so busy liking all of the good mornings in the Facebook feed already that you went live with me. I'm so excited to be here. Wow.
Oh, I love it. And I'm excited.
Look at us. We're both matching. We are so in sync with energy and vibe that we are in the same color.
That's exactly right. I'm excited that you're excited. I was telling you right at the beginning, I was like, typically I have the most energy in the room at 5:30 a.m. This might be a first. Tracy comes in over the top. She's killing it this morning. I love
Oh, I love it. I love us.
You're so phenomenal. They're a little behind the scenes for those of you that are watching this morning with Miss Tracy. Tracy's been set to be on our show for just a little bit, and there was a little bit of a mix-up and a little bit of some different things. And I thought Tracy wasn't going to be able to join us this morning, and so I was a little disappointed last night. Like, oh no, I really was excited to meet Tracy, and then she comes back in over the top. She's like, no, I will be there. It's going to be awesome. You're going to show up. And so it's like, it's been this roller coaster. And now here we are, right? Here we are, Unstoppable Tracy, hashtag Rise and Grind, 5:30 a.m. Going to be an incredible episode. Tracy, do me a favor. Will you introduce yourself? I did not do you justice. Will you introduce yourself to our audience here on hashtag Rise and Grind this morning?
Oh, Glenn, I'm so excited to be with Rise and Grind. Sort of my life journey started as the first four-way amputee. That means my four limbs are both legs above knee and left arm above elbow, but first four-way amputee to climb the Himalayas in Nepal, wow, the largest mountains in the world. And it might be still the only four-way amputee. And I'm a World Cup sailor. I sail against able-bodied men, 27 men and 3 women, and everybody has their hands and legs. And I'm a bronze medalist in downhill skiing in the para world. And I've been in Oprah magazine, and I have a little video that's been over 1 million views, all about my kindergarten story that I'm going to share with all of you today, with all of the stuff going on, getting back to school.
Right.
Yes. So I'll stop there because I could probably go on for an hour.
Well, I'm just so impressed with you. I am so impressed with you, inspired by you. I absolutely adore you. I got to spend this last week, studying and researching and learning and watching videos and things like that. And it's just like, oh my gosh, what an incredible human this Unstoppable Tracy is. So thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy in this space with us this morning. It means the world to me. I want to dive in just a little bit. Talk to us so take us back, I guess all the way to the beginning. Help us understand, being the quadruple amputee, kind of how that occurred and happened, and then maybe take us into your journey into school and that pivot point that's been really important and crucial in your story and in your life, and will be for us today.
Yes. Well, so I was born this way. They don't know why. I do know that God made me exactly the way I was meant to be. I also know he made you exactly the way you are meant to be, and right. First day of school, so excited. All summer, my mom told me that I get to go to school today, completely different than some of the folks in the world right now wondering whether to be excited or not. But I was so excited, and we're face to face with the principal, and I'm 5 years old, and I say hello, and the principal looks at me with these big saucer eyes, and he looks at my mom, and he's sort of all deflated and calm and not smiling. And he just sort of says, "I'm sorry, Tracy can't go to this school." And my little 5-year-old heart just went whomp. Like right now in my stomach, I can feel that. When you have a memory like a car accident or something, and you feel it in your gut, like as if it's happening all over again. This was a gazillion years ago, and I still remember it like it was right now. Yeah. Like a little bit nauseous, him saying, "You can't go." And so I fully expected, like some of your viewers probably right now, to be my mom, to be all like Mama Bear. Like, what do you mean my baby can't go to this school, right? Like I totally thought that's what my mom was going to do. And she didn't. Oh. And it was like this really big lesson for the rest of my life. She just looked at him, and she was like eye to eye, and she smiled at him and her arms were like open and she's like, oh, how come? Like, really pleasant and just a question. And so because he wasn't defensive, he happily explained. He said, well, because Tracy doesn't have her hands. She's not going to be able to tie her shoelaces at recess. And because Tracy doesn't have her legs, she probably needs help in the washroom. And in the 1970s, there's only one teacher, right? There's 30 kids and one teacher. And there's no educational assistant. And there's no support worker, no librarian. There's just the principal and this one teacher and these 35-year-old kids. So my mom understood that this one teacher is not going to be able to leave the room with all the other 30 kids, right? It made sense. He wasn't being a mean guy.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom says that. She says, oh, I totally understand. But then she counteroffers. And she says, you know, since we're here today, do you think you could give me 1 week and I could try to find a school more suited for Tracy? But since we're here, can we just try? And the principal,
I love that.
Yeah, right? And she really listened to him, right? He wasn't worried about whether I could tie my shoelaces. He was worried about being stuck with me.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And so she took that sting out. She's like, if it doesn't work out, we'll go somewhere else on Friday. Just give me a week to find it.
Right.
And so my mom says, thank you very much. And she's smiling. And then she's looking out at the schoolyard and all the kids, like the whole school. We're all like at the school, you know, we're all waiting for the bell to go off to say you can go inside the school. And then my mom's smile changed to now she has, instead of the principal has, this panic look on her face. And she looks out at all the kids. And then she looks down at me and she drops to her knees on the cement steps in front of everybody. And I'm like 5 years old. And I'm like, why is my mom on her knees in front of the whole school? Right? Right. And then my mom, you know, she grabs my arms. You know the parental 5-finger super grip? Will you do the 5-finger grip on your arm? You know how mom, yeah, exactly. So mom likes holding my arms
right
to her side and she's looking at me on her knees and she's like eye to eye, just like she was with the principal. And she says, Tracy, it's really important that you and everybody's included. Nobody left behind, including you. Well, I'm like 5 years old.
Yeah.
I have no idea why my mom is so intense, right?
Yeah.
I'm 5. I just want to go play with all the kids in the schoolyard.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, okay, mom. Right. And I go play. Well, the principal had heard the whole thing, right? He saw my mom on her knees, holding my arms, saying everybody included. And so the principal's eyes, they're like all welled up with tears, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so now his heart is in his stomach. And of course, he doesn't want to send me away on Friday.
Right, sure.
So he runs outside into the schoolyard. Fast forward to recess time. He can't find me anywhere. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes go by. The bell goes off. I never made it outside, which means I can't stay at that school. And so he's trying to think, how am I going to face Tracy's mom to tell her that she can't go to this school? So he races inside to find my teacher to find out what happened. And he asks my teacher, he says, couldn't Tracy tie her shoelaces? And the teacher's all confused. Tracy was the first one to tie her shoelaces.
That's right.
He's like, what? Oh, then how come she wasn't outside? And the teacher says, oh, her little friend couldn't tie her shoelaces.
Mm.
So Tracy gave her a hand.
Right.
So what did my mom say? Do you remember, Glenn?
Everyone included.
Yes. Well, it turns out none of those 30 kids could tie their shoelaces. By the time I tied 30 shoelaces,
Wow.
everybody included,
Right.
the recess bell had gone off.
That's incredible.
But you
So
know,
you sat there tying all the shoelaces.
all the shoelaces.
That's
So
amazing.
how come the only girl without hands, the only student, male or female, with no hands, was the only student required to be able to tie their shoelaces?
Mhm.
And you know what? When I heard this story the first time, it made sense why the principal said no, right? It made sense.
Sure.
And probably even to the listeners, it makes sense. So right now, there's like a whole bunch of naysayers, or there's a whole lot of confusion, and there's a whole lot of heartbreak. And we just don't know what is the right step forward. We just don't know. But and the principal, he just didn't know. So, you know, every time I hear no, and the principal said, no, you can't go to this school, N-O, at 5 years old, I learned that no, N-O, just means K-N-O-W, right? The principal just didn't know.
So strong.
Right?
That is so strong. Yeah.
And how many of us have these childhood memories that influence our 50-year-old selves, right? Or our 20-year-old self, or our 100-year-old self, like whatever age, whether we're male or female, young or old, right?
Yeah.
I'm so lucky that at 5, instead of learning that I was fat or freckled or a girl or too short or have a disability, what I learned was no just means we don't know.
I love that.
Yeah. We just have to figure it out. Either I don't know or they don't know, but it doesn't matter that we don't know how. We just got to jump in and get started and figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
And
that's incredible. That's incredible. No, like that applies across the board, right? If you're doing some prospecting and your prospecting is telling you no, it's because they don't know enough to make a good decision. If you're trying to get a job and they're telling you no, it's because you haven't impressed upon them. They don't know enough about you to give you that opportunity, right? Anytime you're getting a no, it's actually a K-N-O-W issue.
Yeah.
It's not an N-O issue.
There's no sting in that.
Dude, I'm unstoppable, Tracy. You just changed my world right there. I love that.
And so mom, she didn't say she could tie her shoelaces, right?
Yeah.
She didn't say why, because why is a trigger word. Why puts people on defensive, even with a friendly voice tone. When you say why, right? It's like, oh, it sounds like a challenge. But when you say, how come, in a friendly way, how come? You just asked the right quality question. But it's important because she didn't say, oh, she can tie her shoelaces. She counteroffered what his sting was, right? If people say no, it just means we haven't heard their perspective. We're not reflecting their pain or their concern well enough yet, right? Oh, if it doesn't work out, no problem. We'll go to another school. So now he's not stuck with me, and now he's willing to try. Right?
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. Hey, for those of you that are watching here this morning on #RiseAndGrind, if you haven't done so already, do me a favor and hit that share button. You got to hit that share button. The unstoppable Tracy, there's somebody out there that needs to hear what she's talking about this morning. They need to be picking up what she's putting down is what needs to be happening this morning. As a matter of fact, I'm going to call out Mr. John Coltonborn. He's watching us this morning. Tracy, Gail B. Craft, Julio Soto, Brad Smith, Mike Overfelt, Vicky Everett, Rick Tamburino, Jim Fitzpatrick has joined us this morning. Jim Fitzpatrick is a big wig in the auto industry. Unstoppable Tracy. Jim Fitzpatrick's awesome. Terry Collins is in here. Emily Galler, Krista Bug, Carmilla Butcher. We've got Anita Faulkner Hill, Christopher Campbell, Keith Hamilton, Susan Rose, and 90 other people that are with us this morning on hashtag Rise and Grind at 5:30 a.m. So do me a favor, you guys, hit that share button. The best thing we can do to honor a guest on hashtag Rise and Grind, there's two things. These people are losing sleep sometimes to stay fully energetic so that they can come onto our show and bring the energy. The best way we can honor that, one, I need you to pour into Tracy today. Send her encouraging messages today. Let her know how what she shares with you impacts your life today. Do all of that. Follow her stuff. Go to unstoppabletracy.com and make sure you connect with her in every way that you possibly can. So that's the first thing that we can do to honor our guests on this show is just absolutely, I want you to blow her up today. I want her to call me later today and go, Glenn, your people are crazy. Tell them to stop. I can't get anything done. My phone's blowing up. That's what I want today. That's one. Two, the second way we can honor her is just hit that share button and make sure as many people as humanly possible can hear this incredible message. Tracy, you took us back to that initial pivotal story, which I so appreciate. Already super valuable. If we ended the interview right now, you've already made a massive impact, which I truly appreciate. So, and that was clearly one of those lessons that you learned early. So let's fast forward just a little bit. When did you know that being a quadruple amputee, when did you know that that was actually a gift in your life and not a burden?
Yeah, it took me a long time.
Yeah.
It took me a long time, and it made me unstoppable. And when I realized it was a gift, not a burden, was after Rio 2016. Now, I spent all my life people would say, oh, you can't do that. And no, I can go to kindergarten. And oh, you can't do that. Oh, I can sail. Oh, you can't do that. I can ski and I can work and I can date and I can climb the Himalayas and and swimming and sailing and scuba diving. And I fly airplanes and ride horses and bobsledding. Like I just kept doing these big adventures and these big sports. And then, making a big difference in like over 20 countries and developing countries as a teacher. This year, inducted into Canada Hall of Fame for all my humanitarian work around the world. And I just kept trying to prove to everybody when they would say, you can't do that. And I say, I'm unstoppable, Tracy. I can do anything. And then after Rio, and when I was trying to fundraise for my campaign for sailing in the Paralympics to get to the Paralympic trials, I would talk to people about my story. And afterwards, people would come up to me and they'd be like, you didn't know this, but I was really contemplating suicide, and hearing you today, you totally turned my world around.
Yeah.
And then someone else is like, you know what? I have been dying to write a book for 20 years. And today I've decided to start.
Yes.
Or other people like, I've been wanting a promotion and I'm the only female in my job. And today you gave me the courage to face my boss and say, I want that promotion. I deserve a spot on the board, and I didn't realize that my story made other people take action. Like I like inspiring people, but inspiration is kind of like perfume. You put it on and then you jump in the shower and it washes away, right? The next day. You got to reapply it every day. I think the real gold is when you take action. It's not just about believing you can do it. It's doing something about it. Yeah. And so when I started to hear people taking action and turning their lives around, it was then that I realized it's not about unstoppable Tracy. It's about unstoppable you. Unstoppable you. And that light bulb went off for me in January 2017.
Okay.
It was just a few years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
About this whole life of humanitarian work, like Uganda and Jamaica and Nepal and Mexico. And I love teaching. And I loved making a difference with the kids. But, a large part of that was me trying to prove something.
Sure.
And it wasn't really till I realized, and I should have seen it right at 5 years old. it wasn't so cool to be in the playground. It was really cool to be able to feel that gift of generosity, right? It was so cool to be able to be a valuable contributor tying 30 shoelaces.
Right.
But I didn't want to be the shoelace leader, right? I just wanted to go play with everybody.
Yeah.
I just fell into it and I didn't see it. And it took me many, many years before people's stories started coming back to me and telling me, you know, some people proposed and some people divorced and some people reunited and lots of people who are suffering with anxiety and depression, like a lot of the world right now with what's going on.
Yeah.
It's funny, you know, right now at this pandemic, many people spent March dying and itching to get out and to hug people and almost avoiding the appropriate isolation, right? Well, now, you know, there's different phases of where you're able to go back if you go back safely with safe practices, but people are staying in their home almost afraid to go back to school. And is it the right decision? And what's the safe decision? And we've had a complete flip and turnaround.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that goes back to, you know, what you had said earlier, the no is really the KNOW, and so many people don't know enough. There's either false information or they don't know, you know, they don't know what to believe. And so it causes that decision paralysis, right? Where just, I don't know what to do. So I'm not going to do anything because I just don't know, you know, and that's a very scary place to, you know, for us to be. I noticed that with some of the gyms were opening up, but no one was going back to the gym, right? The parks, some of the parks, the play places for the kids and stuff were opening up, but nobody was going back. And then obviously we have school and we have all of those questions. But I think Tracy, what you shared there, I appreciate what you shared there, as far as reflection and not necessarily seeing it as a gift. So for a while it was a chip on your shoulder, and it was like, okay, I gotta prove to everybody else that I can, right? And then 16 to 17, you start seeing how your gift is changing and impacting other people's lives. You start to see the back end of that, right? And that in turn,
not 16 years old, but 2017, like just a few years ago.
Yeah. And how old were you in 2017?
You can never ask a girl.
I didn't ask how old you were now. I asked how old you were 3 years ago.
Right? In my 40s.
In your 40s. So here we go. We're 3 years ago. We're in our 40s. We've spent our whole lives like doing amazing things. We're traveling the world. We're climbing mountains. We're doing, and anybody looking from the outside is probably like, Tracy totally is in her gift. She understands that this is her deal, but really it was just a chip. And then other people, how the impact that you had in other people's life is what transformed and turned it into a gift for you. I think that there's a big lesson there for a lot of our viewers. A lot of our viewers are in their 40s. A lot of our viewers are reaching this point in life and they're like, oh my gosh, like, I don't really understand my purpose. And they see someone like you and they think, well, Tracy's a quadruple amputee and she's had it all together since she was 5. And here I am, and I'm in my 40s and I can't get it together, right? And so I'm glad that you shared and we're vulnerable with sharing, like, hey man, it takes a while, right? It takes a while before we really step into and understand, you know, why we're here. So now that you like, obviously your story inspires and you're causing people to take action and you're continuing to share and you're doing all of these amazing things. So now that you're kind of into that, you're stepping into, this is my gift, this is my jam. How has that changed? How has your life, like the day-to-day, what is the day-to-day kind of changed when you're stepping into your gift versus, you know, trying to prove to the world that you can?
So I kind of shared that insight and that idea on January 27, 2017. And I had about 700 Facebook friends.
Yeah.
And remember, I was a World Cup athlete trying to promote, and I had 700 Facebook friends. And I made that little note, and then somebody said, you know, you should write a book, all the things that you've done. I'm like, oh, people don't want to hear my story. And people said they do. And when I was speaking, they're like, have you written a book? People are always asking after I would speak to try to fundraise for my boat to be able to join the Paralympic trials. And they're like, have you written a book? And I'm like, oh, people don't want to hear that. So finally I said, okay, do people really want to hear this book, as a joke post with my face on a pretend book cover? And I went from 700 Facebook friends to 5,000 in 2-3 weeks on Facebook.
Amazing.
And I didn't say I was writing the book. I posed a, rhetorical question out there, and it became an expectation. It became a commitment where people were placing orders, and I had sold over 10,000 books before I'd even made a book.
That's incredible. Wow.
And this was all, and that year I was making about $10,000 as an athlete of bits and pieces here or there pulling in. And in October of 2017, Russia had invited me to speak there for $10,000.
Right.
My expenses and my hotel and a companion to travel with me to help me out. And I got to visit churches and schools and orphanages. And I've been back every year to Russia and visiting more and more states and cities and around the world. So in 2020, I was in 20 countries. I was in 20 countries. I don't even know how many cities I was in. But 20 countries in 2020. And so my life went upside down and just completely international. Oprah magazine put me in her magazine. I got to share stages with Dr. Phil and Michael Douglas and Brooke Shields and all sorts of, over a dozen famous, Mark Wahlberg.
Nice.
All these famous folks. But what was much more meaningful was getting to these countries. I've always wanted to make that impact, but when you flipped it around now, when it's so international, and I did a book, right? But instead of doing my story, I shared my story, but every chapter at the end, I ask, hey, what's your story? What's working for you? What's not working? So what do you want to do about that, right? At the end of every chapter, there's some questions like how come, so that you become unstoppable. At first I called it Unstoppable Tracy, but the name of the book is Unstoppable You.
Yes.
I'm just organizing a way during the pandemic to give people a hard copy of the book. I want to gift, it's like 32 online right now, but if people watch out very shortly, I'm just figuring out how to do shipping and handling and all of that kind of stuff. Okay. So share your email and I'll send out everybody a way to receive the hard copy, and as a gift from me during this pandemic, to just pull people through to be unstoppable and remain, or refuel your unstoppable, or recharge your unstoppable, or start. If it's not a restart you're unstoppable. Dude, you were saying about people reach 40 or 50 or 60 or 30 or 20, and I know there's a place for each and every one of us. It doesn't matter if we're black or white, male or female, tall or small, with a disability, without a disability, right? During a pandemic or not during a pandemic, right? There is a place for each and every one of us. And I have no idea what's going on in your listeners' world, right? I know people have lost their jobs and they've lost loved ones, and they're dealing with health concerns and family concerns and relationship struggles with parents, with life partners, with children, with teenagers, with school teachers, with employers, right? And just, God forbid, so many other deeper things I don't even want to put out there out loud, and I don't know what your people are facing. Mm-hmm. But I know that, I have every excuse to be on this couch, right? And to not be trying to figure out a way to earn an independent income, for example, because my way of paying the rent was speaking on stages. And so that's stopped, right? We're not gathering, but that's not stopping me. I got to reinvent myself with virtual now, right? And so how do we reinvent? So a little bit of tough love. I don't know what's going on in the world, so please forgive me for the tough love. But when I live a life of no excuses, I live a life of no limits. No excuses, no limits. Now I'm cheeky because I spell limitless with a B because I'm limitless. I was born limitless. And that's the secret. I was born this way. I was born limitless. But the bigger secret is that we are all born limitless.
Yeah.
You are limitless too. We are all limitless. So tough love, but bonus, no excuses, no limits.
I love it. And I adore you. You are an amazing, amazing superhuman. This show is supposed to go 30 minutes. We've already gone over, and I could continue to talk to you forever. I want to do two things. One, I'm going to so being a morning routine, it's incredibly important. I try to be very respectful of people's mornings. We try to stay within the box for the most part. So for those of you that are watching this morning, if you have to go right now, I totally get it, right? Like you go, you do your jam, you do your thing. If you got to go do that, that's great. I appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you hit the share button before you go. Have an incredible weekend, all of those phenomenal things. And then you come back here Monday morning, 5:30 a.m. We're going to do it all over again on #RiseAndGrind. For those of you that can stay for just another minute or two, I'm going to put Miss Unstoppable Tracy up on top of a mountain real quick. Tracy, I'm going to put you on top of a mountain, which you've been on top of many mountains, right? Which is incredible. I love how much like experience you have, like limbs, no limbs, like there is something to traveling, right? There is something to expanding and going out into God's space and his country that like, it's like it unlocks little portions of your brain that, it's just mind blowing, right? Yeah. So I can only imagine with all the places that you've been, all the unlocks. I'm envious of the unlocks. I'm always trying to unlock different portions of my brain. And so I'm not jealous of you. I'm just envious of the unlocks. Like I want a Himalayan unlock at some point in my life. I need that. I know I will do that for sure. And so it's just really, it's really impressive. But so let's put you up on top of a mountain. Okay. You're on top of a mountain. Okay. And all of civilization is down at the base of the mountain, right? And they're cheering for you. Tracy, 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 right? And everybody's clapping. They went from a slow clap to like a fast clap, and everybody's there. And it's this exciting moment. And they walk over, and there's a microphone. They give you the microphone, and they say, Tracy, you have 2 minutes. That's it. You have 120 seconds to give these people something that they can use, that they can apply in their life today, this week, this month, this year. What are you going to tell them?
Disarm your limiting beliefs for the best version of you, and that will support your peak performance. Exceed uncertainty. Feeling uncertain is no excuse for inaction. Even if you don't know how, jump. Embrace the possibility you can do it. Even if you don't know how, don't avoid failure, jump and earn your independence. But earning independence doesn't mean you're doing it alone. It means you're joining Glenn Lundy every morning for his 5:30 a.m. Rise and Grind, because you need to keep that. Who you surround yourself with is who you become. And when you have no excuses, you have no limits. Exceed uncertainty. Embrace possibility, earn independence with Rise and Grind. No excuses, no limits.
Wow, doesn't even need the full 2 minutes. She just takes like 60 seconds and smacks you around. Just tack, 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 tack. Just see, man, I love that. I'm sitting here writing as fast as I can. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to write all this stuff down. And I will go back and watch this again. Disarm your limiting beliefs. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love how you said feeling uncertain is not an excuse to not take action, right?
Yeah.
Earn your independence. No excuses, no limits. Unstoppable Tracy. You are unstoppable. You've inspired me today, and I'm sure the audience as well feels unstoppable. I'm going to run. So we're getting ready around the country, me and some of my friends, and you see people online, they're supporting the veterans. You know, we've got some mental issues, and you got veterans that are committing suicide 22 a day around the country. And so to raise awareness for that and dollars, we're running 10Ks a day. We're doing a 10K a day, right? And so I'm only running 2 miles and I'm riding the other 4.5. I can't run the whole way yet, but today I'm going to go out and run my 2 miles, and it's going to be unstoppable because of what you did. I'm going to like crush my best times. I can already feel it, and I'm going to ride like the wind with my kids. So thank you for pouring that into me. You're an amazing human being, clearly uniquely made by the God of the universe, the God who made everything, made you to be the best version of yourself that you can be, and you're living it, and you're making an impact, and I stinking love you for it, Tracy.
I stinking love you too. God made me, but God made you. God made all of our listeners. I am not Unstoppable Tracy alone. I did not earn independence alone. I earned it thanks to people like you, and now because of you. Like, what a fabulous way to wake up today. Thank you, Glenn Lundy. I am so glad you were born. The world is lucky to have you on this planet.
You are so kind. Thank you so much. I feel the exact same way. Super glad we're connected. I know that there's a future. You and I will do more things going forward. I love stages. I love events, and I love putting amazing human beings on those stages next to me. So we'll talk about that as well. We'll talk about that down the road. But thank you for joining us this morning. Hey, for those of you that are on here, that was the one and only Unstoppable Tracy. Absolutely amazing. Hey, if you're listening on podcast, you can come watch the full video to meet and see Unstoppable Tracy at Official Glenn Lundy. For those of you that are watching on Official Glenn Lundy on Facebook, make sure go download, subscribe to our podcast. Even if you're like, you know what, I watch you on Facebook every time, Glenn. I'm like, okay, cool. Go download me on the podcast, because it helps somebody else find the show. And that's what it's all about, right? The impact we can make in other people's lives. Listen, I hope you enjoyed this week of back to school. I know it's an interesting season, one of developing and one of a lot of not knowing, right? Not knowing what to do, what decisions to make. And so I think what Unstoppable Tracy just said, I want you to take that with you, right? Don't let the uncertainty keep you from taking action. Let's go. No limits. #RiseAndGrind. Have an incredible day today. If you need more videos like this, you can go to GlennLundy.com. That's right, GlennLundy.com. Also, do me a favor, if you haven't already, hit that share button. Pour into Tracy today. And most importantly, come back here again, 5:30 a.m. on Monday. We're going to do it all over again on #RiseAndGrind.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you, my friend? How are you, my friend? See, there's no excuse for you not pushing yourself to the next level. In order for you to create a new you must have a new mindset. When teams come together, we can create things that are greater than the sum of all of their parts.